This video is the answers to question 3. So it says find the y-intercept and the x-intercept for this linear equation. So the linear equation right here, y equals 3x minus 4. So let's look at that. This is the linear equation, and the important things to remember to find the x and the y-intercept is that when the x-coordinate equals 0, and when I say x-coordinate, what I mean is this x in a coordinate of points. X and y in parentheses like this are coordinates, and the x is only one part of the point. You have to plot a point using both x and y. When the x of the coordinate is equal to 0, then you will have a y-intercept. This y becomes the y-intercept. What that means is, according to this equation here, over here, this y value becomes the y-intercept when x is 0. And we could look at that. If we plugged in x for 0, or 0 for x, I'm sorry, replace that x with 0, and we calculated, we would get y equals -4, because 3 times 0 is 0, 0 minus 4 is -4. So our y-intercept is -4. Now, when you have a linear equation, the y-intercept doesn't have to be calculated because it's embedded into the equation itself, meaning it's already there. Because as you recall in the last video, when you have a linear equation, y equals mx plus b, this number here is the y-intercept. You might be thinking, well, that's strange. How come we found that to be, well, that y value here is simply a y-coordinate. You can plug a different value in for x and get a different y here. This y-intercept doesn't change ever. So if we plugged in 1, for example, for x, let's plug it in over here, we'd have 3 minus 4, we would have y equal -1. This y is no longer the y-intercept at that point. This y coordinate becomes the y-intercept only when the value of the x-coordinate is 0. However, a shortcut to finding y-intercept is simply look at the equation, and it's embedded into the equation. It is the b. And I meant to write y equals mx minus b. That's really the point, because I'm showing you the linear equation here, how it matches this equation here. Whether it's mx plus b or minus b is irrelevant. The minus b or plus b just tells you where it is on the coordinate, meaning if it's a minus b, it'll be below the middle, and if it's a plus b, it's above the middle. That's all that means. Okay, so the other thing to remember is just the opposite. When the y-coordinate, so when this value, now that we have so much stuff written here, when this y-coordinate equals 0, then the x-coordinate will be the x-intercept. And the x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis, just as the y-intercept is where where the line crosses the y-axis. We'll plot our intercepts as well. Okay, so our y-intercept we already know in this equation is -4. Our y-intercept for this equation is -4. The x-intercept, we have to plug in y equals 0. this y-coordinate has to equal 0. So we'll force it to equal 0. Just as I showed you in the other video, you can set a value for y and solve for the x. So I'm replacing this y for a 0. And where y-coordinate is 0, the x will be the x-intercept. So let's solve. First, we do our algebra. We do not mess with this. We instead take this term, which is similar to this term because they're both just numbers, and we do the opposite function. So we add 4 to both sides, and then we have 4 equals 3x, because of course minus 4 plus 4 is 0, and plus 4, 0 plus 4 is simply 4. And so our last step is these two have to be separated. They're multiplied, so we divide. And we divide both sides by the 3. 3 over 3 is 1, so that becomes x. So 4/3 equals x. This is a special x. This is the x-intercept. We forced a coordinate. So what we've done here is the y-intercept, where x is 0, y is equal to -4. And for the x-intercept, where y is 0, so that's this coordinate, where y is 0, the x then equals 4/3. It doesn't matter that you have a fraction. You can still plot a fraction as part of a point. And we can look at how to do that. Let me clear this really quick. If you plot points for that equation like we did in the last problem, so you plot x and y values, our linear equation was y equals 3x minus 4. We would plug where x is 0, you have the y-intercept, so where x is 0, you have 3 times 0 minus 4, so y equals -4. And where y equals 0, you plug in 0, and we went through this, we get that x equal 4/3. And we just did that, so this is what we have. And I'm just showing you these are coordinates, and the actual y-intercept is the y of this coordinate where x is 0. So we can plot the points. X is 0, so we start in the middle. We can't go left or right because it's 0, and we move down 4 to get to the y, and that is a point on the line because this is coming from a linear equation. We are choosing a value for x and getting a value for y according to this equation. We're plugging a value for y, getting a value for x according to this equation. So how you plot this point is 4/3, which is roughly 1 1/3. Well, it is 1 1/3. So we plot the x is 1 1/3. Let's give us a couple of lines to work with. 1 1/3 across maybe is there. We're not going anywhere because y is 0, so we don't go up, we don't go down, we stay right there. That's the y, or that's the x-intercept, because it's on the x-axis, y-intercept on the y-axis. We connect those points to draw our line. Are there more points on this line? There sure are, and we could plug in values. When x is 0, or 1, let's plug in a value of 1 for x. That makes 3 times 1 is 3. 3 minus 4 is -1, so y equals -1. We have another point, okay? Positive 1, I start in the middle, go over to the right one, I go down 1, and it's a point on the line, okay? My line is crooked, so don't get upset. This is very rough. This is rough. I don't have graph paper here. But 1, -1 is another point on the line. And if we did something, let's plot -2. 3 times -2 is -6. Negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10. So y is negative 10. So if we did negative 2 as the x value, 1, 2, go down 10, that's quite a ways, but you're going to get a point on the line. All right, but the x-intercept and the y-intercept are special points. The line will cross the y-axis where x is 0. The line will cross the x-axis where y equals 0. And that's sort of the bottom line.